Back in it. Take 2.
Gets me all fired up.
Yeah, so working with Barbette, in that process, like, how'd you guys come up with the questions?
So it's actually funny because I had ideas of things I definitely wanted to ask, and then I would like send them to him. He would look over them, etc. But then before we did your first episode, especially because I had never done this before, I talk to people all the time, and it honestly is kind of similar to my job in a way, because it's like I'm very much myself at my job, so it's like not like I put on like much of like a therapist hat. Like it's
You
kind
get
of
paid
just
to be you. That's pretty cool.
yes, at least most of the time. And so we did like a run through via, I think it was like FaceTime or whatever it was, and he acted as you, and I asked the questions, and so he answered as if he was you, and we probably went for like, I don't even remember how long. We went for a while, and like the conversation was so good, and it really was like I was talking to you. I was like, this is going to be crazy.
So he knows me.
He knows you well.
That's crazy.
Better than you think.
I mean, so maybe my podcast wasn't originally from me, but it was from Barbette, you know? That was the inspiration for episode 1.
Yes.
Wow.
He was speaking through you.
This blows my mind. It's my first time hearing this.
Yeah. It was really helpful, one, because it helped me see, I don't know, I guess it took some of like the anxiety away for me, because it was like, okay, I really am just having a conversation. Yeah. And that's how I wanted it to feel, not only for me, but for all of the guests too. And I think that was probably one of the best pieces of feedback that I got after every episode, was like, this felt natural, or like this really did feel like a conversation, or like that felt therapeutic, or like it just, and so yeah, that was probably like the best feedback that I got, and it was consistent throughout the season, and that's what I wanted, you know?
Well, you're a great host, you know?
Thank you.
Gotta give you your flowers.
I try.
Yeah. I guess we could segue into some of your favorite moments from the season, you know, or you know, this run of episodes.
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. I feel like I had something different that I really liked in every episode. Okay. I think overall, I really enjoyed the diversity of people that I had on. Yeah. In a lot of different ways, like the variety of ethnicity and culture, the variety of upbringing, the variety of like where they're at now, and like jobs, or like what they do, you know, to express themselves. I enjoyed listening to everybody's story, and even people who were similar, like maybe two people are doing music, the differences in their experience and their journey, I think was really interesting. And I learned so much about so many people that I'm actually very close to and already know a lot about. So it was really interesting to have that be a part of it. I think that one of the things that definitely sticks out to me is Tercia's episode, just because of how vulnerable she was. Like, it's not easy to talk about things, specifically things that she was talking about, and I don't know, allow herself to be vulnerable in the moment, and like be tearful and cry and keep talking about it. Like, she never was like, can we take a break, or like, can you delete that? And so that was something that stuck out to me.
Those raw moments, I love those.
Oh my gosh, it was, and I never knew what to expect on every episode, like, because some of the topics were definitely very heavy, and everybody kind of deals with that differently. I know even for me, like, there's some things that I can talk about with people, no problem. But if I was like by myself thinking about that thing, I'd probably cry. Right. It just like depends on the day or whatever. And then, oh God, it's so hard to say. Like, I think also the last episode, it's also fresh in my mind, but with Ryan, I think that he brought something very different to the show than a lot of other people did.
Elaborate.
I think that his background was a little bit different in terms of like a lot of people that were on the show were from Brockton. Yeah. He's from Taunton.
Big T.
Big T.
Shout out to the green.
Oh my God, what was that place that we went to? That was so much fun that night.
Bobby's place.
Bobby's place.
Took me back.
Shout out to Bobby's place. And his tattooing journey and like, I don't know. It was just different. It was very different than a lot of other people's story and experience. And I think things that he has learned throughout his time tattooing, it was really fascinating to hear him talk about it or be like, oh yeah, you know, when I go to New York City, like one of the biggest things I've learned is like when you're walking around, like literally nobody gives a shit. Like nobody gives a shit what you're doing. Like just be yourself, do you, because nobody cares. Like really nobody cares. Nobody cares as much as we think that they care. Yeah. In terms of like feeling like, oh, maybe I don't want to dress like how I really want to dress because people are going to be like, that looks weird or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, nobody's actually going to care. Like,
now, some people do care, but you don't want to fall for that. Like when I was in New York, I had that same experience too with the band members. And they were one of them, he's from a small town, and like I can imagine everybody knows each other, so they might be more inclined to like care about what you do.
Yes.
But New York.
And that though, that is so toxic though. So I think that there's still a lesson to learn there, because it's like, why do you care as much as you do about the way I maybe express myself or what I want to do? Because I actually feel like that was a big piece of what I learned going to school in Norton and then transitioning to Brockton. I feel like there's drama in both places, of course. It looks very different. It's dealt with very differently. But like in Norton, I just remember feeling like people would care and judge a lot. Yeah. And I think that people did care and judge a lot. And it was always done like behind your back. And then like nobody would do anything about it, really, is like kind of how it felt all the time. And then it was very cliquey for that reason. And like, I don't know. It just, when I went to Brockton, I'm like, of course people still talk behind your back and like people do this and that and whatever. But like, I feel like it taught me, I don't know. I feel like I attribute this to Brockton, but I don't know if this is why, but I feel like it taught me to like, one, that's not okay, really. Like if you feel some type of way, like tell me or talk to me about it. Or if you're going to say it behind my back, say it to my face, kind of like a mentality. Or let's like figure it out or handle it, whatever it is. So I do feel like you're right. People do care and people judge and whatever, but it's like learning how to not let that affect you or not care about them caring, kind of a thing, I think can be really helpful. I think that Ellen and Lauren's episode was also very interesting because their episode was different for a lot of reasons. I think that was the only episode where I had like 2 white females along with myself, talking about their upbringings, which were different from most of my other guests, and both of their situations were also very different. Yeah. So that was very interesting to see, and they're in the same field as me. So like, that was the episode that I felt like had the most, I don't know how to articulate it, like most psychology insight, I guess. So like we were talking about a lot of things from our psychology background. Like I feel like, and you could kind of see that a little bit. I don't know. I feel like I could name something from every episode. Like Trayvon's episode was also wild. Like he never really talks about anything. Yeah. and like doesn't really show people any of that. So for him,
wavy
baby, for him to come on and like shed light on what he's been through, I think was really amazing also. I don't know. I literally every episode, like
I know it's hard to put into perspective. Like,
it is
like to generalize everybody's situation.
Yeah.
But I would say for me, Al's story.
A lot of people actually reached out to me about his episode.
I got it. I personally want to thank you for allowing that, and I reached out to you to let you know.
Yeah.
You know,
what was it about his story specifically you feel like that?
That was like the first time I seen someone really like, let me not say the first time, but I really felt someone take that pain and transform that into passion. And I don't personally know his current life right now, but from what he shared on, it looks like something that he's fighting with every day, and I'm just rooting for him.
Yeah. I know, that's so true. And I appreciate that because I feel like that's also... Like, I want more of that. I want people to be, like, rooting for each other. Yeah. And, like, I think hearing people's stories can help develop that also. Because everybody has something that either has happened or something that's going on that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that I've been able to, like, provide a platform for people to share that and to connect or relate to stories that are being shared. That was something that I think I really enjoyed too, was having people reach out to me after episodes and being like, that really hit me, or like, thank you so much for that episode, or, you know, I don't know. It just, I feel like it went a lot better than I was expecting it to go. Like, I feel like, I can't believe that season 1 is done. And I'm really happy with I can't think of the word, not the feedback, but the
result.
Yeah, like the result that came from it.
I think people are too.
I can't believe it. It's so, I don't know, it's exciting.
I personally would, like, knowing you, this makes sense. I just didn't know that your career would bleed into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I also feel like I've struggled with a little bit, and like trying to figure out how to navigate this whole thing because of what my career is. It's hard to then also put myself in a public light.
Yeah.
Talking about, maybe not always directly talking about what I do every day, but I don't know, it's hard. Like, we're taught in school, especially with psychology, especially even more so working in the legal system, like, make all your shit private. Like, all your social media should be private, all this stuff, which I think has a lot of benefits. So, you know, navigating, like, maybe what I have to be careful with talking about, or people that I can have on as guests. I don't know. There's a lot of layers and things that I'm still trying to figure out, and I always say I want to make sure that I'm always doing the work on the inside. And by the inside, I mean, like, in corrections, what I do every day. I would never change that for the world. And that always would take priority for me, but I want to be able to do both. So I'm hoping that it can continue because it's important.
So are the conversations that you have with people out here kind of modeled after how the conversations are with people in the jail cells or in corrections?
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, like, I think one of the main reasons why I feel like I'm very good at my job, and I think that one of the main reasons for that is because I'm just very, like, genuine. And like I said earlier, I'm really just like myself, which I think working in corrections allows me to do that. I think there's a lot of places where you kind of have to put on this, like, I don't know, like I said, like, put on this image, and I can be very blunt with my coworkers, with the people that I work with, the people that I provide services for. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I can just be myself and, like, give them a space, hopefully, where they feel safe to talk about whatever it is that's going on. and I feel like I give them respect and like I get respect back simply just for that. I honestly think, like, actually the other day someone came up to me and was saying hi, and then one of the other individuals who's incarcerated was like, damn, you're like famous out here. And I was like, I just am respectful, and so I get respect back. Like, and I feel like people appreciate that, because maybe not 99% of the time, a lot of the time, people who work in that field, I feel like, don't give that. They have this sense of like authority, and they really feed into that.
Yeah.
So.
And the whole purpose is to, like, you know, rehabilitate.
Yes.
Really think about it.
Yes. And our system needs a lot of work to really make that happen, because it's not great at doing that right now.
So you're really important then.
I like to think so. Sometimes. I think that there's times in my job where I feel like I can only do so much, and that really sucks. Or should I have done more? And that feeling sucks. Or like, I don't know, even if I have an interaction with someone that's not great for whatever the reason.
Let's stop. Yo, the light went off. Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. Even if I have an interaction with someone who, I don't know, and it's not that it's not great, but like maybe something happened, or maybe they got pissed at me for whatever reason, or whatever it is, feeling like, am I going to be the reason that they feel worse? And that's something that I think we learn also throughout our training, is like, you're not going to make someone worse. You're not going to make their illness worse if they have like a diagnosis. You're never going to, I mean, this is heavy, but like, you're never going to cause someone to attempt suicide. Yeah. Like those things that are very real in our job, we have to take that burden off of ourselves a lot of times, because if we don't,
they'll consume you. It's
too much. It's like, you just can't. So I do feel pressure, but I think that for the most part, I don't know. I feel like I've found a good way to like handle that, and just, I'm pretty laxed, I would say, at work too. Like I don't get too, there's times where I can get super stressed out, but for the most part, I'm just kind of like, just chill, like laid back, just like go do my thing, go do my group, whatever I have to do. I try to be so helpful. Like anytime I can help someone, I try to be helpful. Like people will be like, oh, like that's not your job, you don't have to do that for them. And I'm like, I know, but it's like the little things that make the world of a difference. You know what I mean? And it's like, if I can take 5 seconds out of my day to do something that somebody needs, like I'm going to do it. So it's a lot of pressure, but
there's hope, you know?
Yeah, there really is.
Yeah.
There really is.
Without going, you know, I don't know the rules of your job or anything, but like, can you describe like a breakthrough moment you had with someone in there?
Oh, wow.
Getting into detail.
Yeah, I can think of a few right now, just because I'm ending this like year-long residency that I'm in right now. So I'm kind of like in the middle of terminating with all of the people that I'm seeing. And I think it goes back to just like my demeanor and my nature. I've had a lot of people who have said like, I've never met someone who cares. Yeah. And like that alone, like, firstly, it makes me sad, because it's like, why aren't there more people that care, that work in this field? And then there's the other part of me that's like, this is why I do this, because like, I do want to be a person, or like a light in the system where I don't know, that proves that there are people that do care. Yeah. So similarly, I have someone else who I'm terminating with right now who has basically said the same thing. Like, I've never trusted any of my psychologists. You're the first person that I've actually like trusted, which also then sucks because it's like now I have to leave and you have to start over with someone else, and that's not easy, obviously. But I would say those moments are probably some of the biggest, because like we get taught all these interventions and all these things to do and types of therapy and all that stuff, and all of that's helpful. Like the research proves that and shows that, but literally just being there and creating a safe space for someone to talk, like it's more about the therapeutic relationship and like how to create that space for someone. I feel like that can make a world of a difference for someone. So I also think I try to get very creative. Like I will do, I don't even know. Like I'll come to a session and be like, we're going to make vision boards today. Or like, we're going to make affirmation cards. Or like I had my group the other day I had them be a debate team and they had to debate against each other. And like, it was amazing. Like they loved it. Maybe they didn't want to do it at first. They're probably like, oh, like this is stupid. Like,
ice, you know,
yeah. And then like, you know, we can also joke and like, so I don't know. I feel like you have to get creative because otherwise it's just like,
eases the tension.
Yeah.
You know?
And the topics can get boring. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's one of the things I always go in, especially in groups. I'm like, listen, we're going to be together for 10 weeks. I'm not here to bore you guys. You want to do this group? Like, what do you guys want to do? Like, let's figure out a way to make this like actually enjoyable, like for the 10 weeks and every hour, or the hour that you have to be here for every week. Like, let's, you know, trying to relate to them, I think is, or show them that you can be relatable, I guess. Because that's also something that I feel like is hard to come by with psychologists in corrections, because a lot of people I feel like look at psychologists and are like, I don't know, they don't think that they've maybe been through, like I'm sure that they think that people have been through things, but like I know people who have been in the system. I know people who have lived similar lives to some of the people that I've worked with. Yeah. And so I think that can be helpful to show that I'm not just like a, like straighten up my tie, like psychologist, you know what I mean?
You know, it gives off very authoritative. Yes,
it does. And so I think, I don't know, just being transparent about that. Like, cause I say that, like I'll walk around and be like, I understand that I'm dressed just like the rest of them.
But you're not. Yeah,
and it's like, so I never walk into a space expecting you guys to trust me or want to talk to me. But like, I try to prove, you know, with my actions and that I'm someone that they can trust and talk to. So it helps. Yeah.
Dang, I feel bad. You know what I'm saying? It's the podcast and her people she's worked with, they're going to miss her, you know?
I know. I'm sad to leave like where I'm at now. It's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to work with people and then like never see them again or never know what they're up to. Like, because also we're not really, like, you're not supposed to like look them up and like try to like find them or like, you know what I mean? So just as much as it's hard for them, I always try to explain too that like, it's not easy for me too, because like I hope and wish the best for you, right? And I always tell them if they're about to release, I'm like, I hope I never see you again, and I mean that in the best way possible. Like, don't come back here, basically. Like, you know what I mean?
Build that emotional attachment.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's hard. It's a weird feeling.
Is there like something you do to like process it, or you just have to like let that go? It's like a breakup.
It is. It really is like a breakup. It's like you just spent a year with someone, telling them all of these things, feeling like this is someone that you can trust, and then it's like, okay, see ya. Now you got to go work with someone else and start all over. Like, that's not easy. And so I talk about that with them, how I understand how that's not easy. I've gone to new therapists and I'm like, this is a pain in the ass. I have to like start all over and explain to this person my life story, right? And I'm like, I don't want to do this again. So I think that being open and honest with them, talking about it a lot. Like I try to talk about it for a few sessions. Like, how are you feeling about it? Like, this is how I'm feeling about it. And then also getting a like shit ton of supervision, like talking to my supervisors about how I'm feeling about it. Cause I'll leave a session and like go cry because of something that I heard or cause something just really touched me or whatever.
You're not doing it in front of them, right?
No, I've never cried in front of anybody.
Is that like part of like training? Like you have to step away?
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah. I think that it could happen, and I don't think that it would be the worst thing, depending on the situation. But I've definitely teared up in sessions before, but I've always cried afterwards. Dang. And I remember actually, I had a group too where this one kid was like, you guys don't give a shit about us. Like, and he was talking about that, and he was like, I feel like when you leave, like you just leave. And I'm like, some people maybe, yes, do that. But that's not true. Like, I'll never forget my first year in my clinical, like having a clinical position. I would drive home all the time crying.
Wow.
Like all the time. And it's not as frequent now maybe because I'm like a little more used to it. It's still like, I think it still touches me the same, but like it's impossible to not think about it afterwards or like not take it home sometimes. And obviously I have to take care of myself and find ways to help with that. But, it's a lot, hearing about, I don't know, just a lot of things, things that you can't even imagine. Yeah.
I always think of like therapists and people. I'm like, who does therapy for you?
I know.
Or how do you cope with that?
I have been to therapy a bunch. I think that for me, I've done therapy on and off. So like when my dad first passed away, I didn't go, but then it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I should probably go.
Yeah.
And so I started going, and then it would be like, okay, I'm feeling better, I'm going to stop. And then something else would happen, and I'd be like, I need to go again. And then I'd stop, and then I'd go again. And that's what happens with people in real life too. Like people I treat, that's a normal thing to go through. Like you feel better and you're like, I don't need this anymore, I'm good, And then it's like,
you start creeping back.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, shit, I wish that I was still going to therapy or whatever. Yeah. But specifically when I was in my doctoral program, I was seeing a therapist, and that was very helpful. One, because I was going through a lot, but also it was helpful to talk about just my school experience or things that were really hard at work. And like being able to explain to someone who can relate in a way, obviously, because they're also a therapist, and has been through like schooling and stuff like that. So, a lot of therapists see their own therapists. I think that's important. Even if it's not legitimate therapy, like consultation, supervision, like is so important because we have to
using your brain a lot. Your
yes.
Emotions, that takes a lot,
I forget sometimes, like I'll get home and I'm like, I am exhausted. Like, why am I so tired? And then like someone will remind me, they'll be like, what do you mean? Like, you're tired. Yeah.
I can only imagine being in your shoes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that vest,
It's a lot.
The mace.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Does it feel heavy on you?
It feels heavy. It feels less heavy now. When I first started, I was like, I hate this. I'm like, I don't want, like, I'm a psychologist. I don't want to look
like 50 Cent,
Yeah, I'm like,
a G unit.
I'm like, I don't want to look like an officer. Like, I don't know. In my head, I'm like, I don't want to look like a cop. I don't want to look like a correctional officer. Because in my head, I'm like, why would anyone want to talk to me and do therapy with me?
Yeah.
If I'm like, I don't know. So it was a really weird transition in the beginning. That was something that I really took into account when I was doing interviews for like my internship and ranking for the match process. I asked like everybody I knew that had worked in the system that I work in now, how that affected their work or if it did at all. Because I was really nervous about that, but it hasn't affected it as much as I thought it was going to. So it's been nice that way. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I enjoy being able to wear like comfier clothing. I don't have to wear like dress pants to work every day, which is really nice. But yeah, it's weird. Sometimes I see myself in the mirror and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, that picture, like, this is my first time seeing it.
Yeah,
like
it's
a whole different person.
It's crazy. But it feels like where I'm supposed to be. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the audience knows too much about your personal life, but you mentioned that your father passed away.
Yes.
So you went to therapy for it, but do you mind sharing how you got through that, or, you know, some of the feelings you went through?
Absolutely. Yeah, my dad died when I was 18, which is crazy because now it's been like 10 years.
Yeah.
Some days it feels like it's been a lifetime, and then other days it feels like it was just yesterday. He died in a car accident, so, you know, it was very tragic, very sudden. And he was my best friend. Like, I've never met anyone like him. However, I feel like as I get older, I think I'm learning more and more that I feel like I emulate a lot of his qualities, which feels really nice because I feel like I can, like, you know, continue his legacy. It was really hard for a long time, and it still is. You know, it never gets easier, and I try to tell people this when they're grieving. It never gets easier. You just learn how to deal with it differently. I
felt that one.
Like, I don't know. There will be days where I'm like, fuck everything, you know, like I just want to cry or like not get out of bed. And then there are other days where some days at the end of the day, I'm like, did I forget about him? Yeah. Like, I know I didn't, but it's like a weird, I don't know, grief is a weird thing. And I think that it's hard to explain if you've never been through it personally. But there were a lot of reasons why I think his death was like traumatic for me. I mean, it being sudden was obviously a part of that, but I wasn't in the state at the time. I was in another state. So it was like a really weird situation where I like got the call in the middle of the night, had to like immediately find like the next flight home, but like nobody told me what was going on.
Oh, they kept it.
Because they didn't want to tell me. So it was like, I knew my dad had been in an accident, but that was it. And like, obviously as I'm on the plane, I'm like, they would not make me fly home unless that was what happened. Yeah. And then there's the other part of me that's like, there's no way that's happening. You know what I mean? So like arriving at the airport, seeing like my family there and being like, okay.
You started thinking.
Yeah, like what the fuck's going on? And then, like, I don't know, not being able to say goodbye. Like, the hospital, thankfully, like, kept him in the room that he was in until we got there. Which is, I mean, it's just a part of, like, working in the hospital. But, like, when that happens, like, they kind of have to, like, move things along. And, like, we kind of need the room now for, like, the next, like, you know what I mean? And it's, like, it sounds shitty, but, like, that's, like, how it goes. So that was nice, at least, that they did that. And at the same time, it felt weird because it was like the last time I saw him, it like wasn't him really. Like, you know what I mean? It didn't really look like him. And it's like, I don't know, some of this
surreal. It's like a dream.
Yes. Yes. And then I flew into the Providence airport for years. Could not fly. I was like, I refused to fly into that airport. And it's the closest airport to where I was living, like where I lived, but I just refused to fly out of there because it was just too much. And it's a small airport. So like, you can't really like escape, or like, it's not a big airport. You could be like, okay, well, I'm going to be in this completely other part of the airport. Like, No, it's such a small airport. Like, there's like one baggage claim, I think. So it's like, I'm going to go to the same spot that I did when that happened. And then, yeah, it's just like weird things. I remember his funeral and wake. I would remember like random things from the wake, like the smell. Like if I smell a certain thing to this day, I'm like, oh, it reminds me of the wake, and it's like weird. I think that something that helped me though was the amount of people that he like touched in some way, or like the lives that he changed. Yeah. Was like, I always knew that, but it was incredible to see.
Yeah.
The wake was 2 days, 2 full days, and it was nonstop from beginning to end, both days.
Waiting in that line.
Crazy. Like, I'll never forget one person in particular came by, no idea who the person was, and they were like, my name is so-and-so, like, I'm from I can't remember what grocery store it was, but he was like, I used to bag, like, your dad's groceries. And I'm like, what? Like, the impact that he had on people is so crazy. And then same thing with the funeral. Like, I remember walking in, there weren't even enough seats. Like, people were literally standing everywhere because there weren't enough seats in the church. And it's a big church. Like, that's like a big church in Brockton. So that helped in a weird way. I don't know. Like, even to this day, people will hit me up and be like, they'll tell me a story about him, or like a lot of students from Brockton High reached out to me like, your dad saved my life, or, you know, I was maybe going down the wrong path and like he really like helped me like turn things around or whatever. So I don't know. That helped a lot. I think that luckily I have a very close family. And so we talk about it a lot. I have an amazing support system, like friends and family. And therapy helped. Medication helped. I'm pretty transparent about that stuff too, because I think that sometimes people just need, I don't know, sometimes people just need an extra, you know, whatever it is. It's definitely affected me in a way that I think like certain things will trigger me. I don't like to see car accidents like when I'm driving, or really any sort of loss completely fucks me up. Like, even like going through breakups for a while was like not good for me. And breakups are hard for everybody, right? But like, it was like
on top of that, you got, here's my dad's memory.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, yeah, breakups are hard, but like, why is this like so hard? Like, why does it feel like almost like the end of the world? Like, kind of a thing. And the more I did therapy and kind of explored that, I think that like just the loss of something or someone is really triggering for me. Yeah. And so it's taken a lot of processing and like self-exploration. But I don't know. It also like makes it, it really has shaped me in a way too. Like I never in my life would have ever thought that would happen to me or my family. And I feel like someone like who's just like seems such like so big, like there's no way that like he could die. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I feel like I lived my life like that for 18 years, which most people do. No one really ever thinks about like, oh, someone in my family is going to die. Like, I don't know. You just don't think about it. And now I feel like you just never know what can happen. Like, you never know what day is your last. That's why like tell people you love them. Tell people how you feel about them. Like, I don't care if you're on the phone for 5 seconds with someone, like, tell them you love them. Like, you know what I mean? Because you just never know. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think that it comes in waves. Like I know, for instance, like I want to get married one day. I know when I do, like that'll be really hard. Graduating and him not being there has been hard because I know that he would be like, I mean, I know he is so proud of me, and he was obviously huge into education. So like he would be like
ecstatic. Yeah.
Oh my God. But I do feel like I said earlier, I feel like I emulate a lot of his qualities, and I think that has, I don't know, it's felt nice. Like recently at work, actually, a bunch of people kept calling me the mayor, and I'm like, oh my God, like that is what people used to call my dad. And I'm like, I like that. Like I like that people feel that I'm like, I don't know, I guess also making an impact, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been, I mean, it's crazy. He was a huge deal in a lot of different places, a lot of soccer world, Brockton High, Brockton in general, like most people know who he is.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, it's crazy, but it's nice for people to be like, oh my God, like, are you Ernie's daughter? For a while that was like, oh fuck, like here we go kind of a thing. I'm like, shit, like try to hold back the emotion or whatever. But now like I love that. I'm like, yeah. And then they'll be like, oh my God, like he was the best.
Still
or like,
about him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And his birthday was yesterday, and I had so many people reach out to me. So I feel very like blessed for the support system that I have. A lot of people from like Brockton High, like Mr. Brophy, he like hit me up and he was like, God, I loved that man so much, and I had so much respect for him. And I'm like, oh, I know, it's like everybody says, like that's so nice.
It's a great man, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. I know. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I guess people don't, not everybody knows that, obviously.
We're not just going out there telling people.
Right. Like, hi, I'm Morgan Branco. Nice to meet you. My dad died.
But what we can do is tell people what's next.
Yes. Oh my God, what is next? Well, I know for me in my like personal life, professional life, whatever, I'm finally graduated. Finally have my doctorate degree, which feels really good. Thank you. I've been in college for 11 years, and it has been forever. I'm glad to be done. I still have to like take an exam and whatever to get licensed, but I'm gonna keep working in corrections. I feel like it's where I'm meant to be. It's like the weirdest. I've never felt, the only other thing that I've ever felt this passionate about has been soccer. And it's weird. It's weird because I feel like growing up, I had no idea what I wanted to do. It was like soccer or nothing. Like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm going to play professional soccer? Like, yeah. Whatever. And that was it. And then found this, and it's like, it just feels like where I'm supposed to be. It's the craziest feeling. I love going to work. Like, I literally look forward to going to work. On the weekends, I look forward to going to work. Like, it's stupid how much I like what I do.
People can say that.
Yeah, and so I feel so blessed because a lot of people don't know what they want to do.
Yeah. And
that's also fine. Like, I know that I'm kind of like the minority in that sense where, like, it's rare to find something that you're so passionate about or work that you're like, you look forward to every day. And I know I'm still in the beginning of my career, and I hope that never changes. So I am going to be moving to New York City. Moving to Brooklyn. It's going to be really, yeah, I've been wanting to move to New York for a long time. I love the city. I just love cities in general, but like there's been something about New York City that every time I go, I'm like, this feels right. So I'm going to continue working, psychologist in corrections there. And hopefully this podcast continues too. I feel like there's so many people that have something to say.
They need this,
Yeah, and I want them to be able to say it. And I don't know, like I have so many ideas that I would like to implement at some point. And I think maybe as I get into my career more, like maybe that will be possible, but I always just, I don't know, like I think about wanting to build things for like families or people who have loved ones who are incarcerated, and like, where's their support? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I felt that one.
They're also going fucking through it. And then like when things that help people get when they release, like helping them reintegrate into society easier, like resume building, I don't know, like there's so many things that I feel like need to be done. And I just hope that, I don't lose that drive outside of, like I said, the work I do every day. Yeah. I want to do the work on the inside. I feel like that's very important. And I feel like there's so much that needs to be done on the outside that I would like to contribute to, but it's hard. It's a lot, obviously, and one step at a time. But I feel like this podcast is at least like a step in that direction. So hopefully everybody will look out for season 2.
Hey, we're here for the ride, you know?
Yes.
We need you guys to be there, you know?
Yes. And thank you guys all for even fucking taking the time to listen to me talk and other people talk. And hopefully everyone continues to learn something. So I feel like, I don't know, there's always something to learn. I feel like we need to push self-awareness. It's so important to be self-aware. Like, even if you have like a stomach ache, like being aware that your stomach hurts and like, oh, maybe why? Like, why maybe? Is it anxiety? Like, did I eat something? Like, paying attention to patterns and things like that, and just being, I don't know, being more aware. And I think that having conversations like this and hearing people's stories, I feel like kind of forces reflection upon people. Yeah. Not only me, the people that are in the room with me while we're doing the show, but then also the people that are listening. Like, if you're listening to the show and you're thinking, like, if something happens and you're like, huh, like, that's good.
Yeah.
So that's what I want.
Hey, people have a lot of home moments all the time, and we're grateful that it's with the Just Us podcast.
Yes. You know? Hopefully that continues.
Well, Morgan, I'm grateful that you're here. I'm
Thank
now
you.
taking over the last 2 seconds.
You're fired, Morgan. No, just kidding.
And I want to end it on this.
Yes, thank you so much. I loved this. You did a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had to listen, you know.
It was good.
Thank you for talking into my ear about a lot of personal things.
Of course.
You know.
Thank you for allowing me to do so.
You got to thank yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to thank yourself.
Thank you for allowing me to thank me.
Yeah. If there's any psychologists or word people out there that can word that for us, you know, send us a message on the Just Us Instagram page.
Yes. Follow Just Us on all platforms.